Hello, everybody. Welcome to the TriStar Gym channel. Today's episode is another Ask Me Anything. All right, guys. What can I say? I only caught last week's fight between Ian Gary and Pratis. I only saw the last round. What an exciting, crazy round. I didn't have time to watch the first rounds, but everybody's like, don't forget to watch the last round. The last round was crazy. Ian Gary really in trouble, but he won the earlier rounds from what I understood. I can't wait to find the time to watch it. I was either going to watch this fight or do this podcast, and I decided to do the podcast, okay? But I'm definitely going to be watching the fight by the end of this weekend. Like, I have to either watch it tomorrow or Friday. I heard all about it. Everybody's telling me all about it. It was a great fight from what I understand. Ian Gary was very slick early on. Early on in the beginning, he was super slick, and he was really intelligent. He got worked in the fourth round. It seemed like, he made it to the last bell, and he got hurt during the fight, and the fifth round was very exciting, crazy fifth round. But if you guys ask me questions on that fight, I only saw the last round. I didn't have time this week to sit down and watch it. Okay, guys, let's kick it off. Let's talk about fighting, upcoming fights. Not sure even what's coming up. Of course, next week, Montreal, UFC Montreal. I'm gonna be there, of course. But other than that fight, those fights, I'm not. I haven't looked at the cards. Is amateur okay? Wait, let's start with fight fitness and all that. Then we'll get crazy with all the Trump questions, guys. The economy is crashing. Everybody, they're saying best case scenario is recession. That's what they're saying. Best case scenario is recession. But let's not start with that. It's not a fun topic. Let's start with something a little bit more exciting, guys. Don't forget to use promo code 55 off. I'm gonna put it on your screen because I know some guys have trouble. There's some guys out there with trouble typing. They're not good. They're not skilled button pushers. And then they cry that, hey, coach, I didn't put the 50% off. I can't do anything for you, okay? Put in 55. Get 55 off. It's on the bottom of your screen. It's on the website. I just released triangle escapes and omoplata escapes, okay? It's one video. Ultimate triangle and omoplata escapes. The video came out super well. Don't ever get caught in triangles or omoplatas again. And have more fun escaping, All right, guys, let's have the questions. Let's get started. Let's kick it off. Did you see Eubank versus Ben? No, I didn't watch. I only saw highlights. It was a crazy fight. Looks like a crazy fight. What is Candace Owens and Francis beef? That's from Brandon Lee. Well, look, I like a lot of what Candace Owens says, but sometimes she says things that for me is like, wow, I'd have to fact check that. Like, I don't have the time to fact check everything she says. And one thing she claimed that what's that guy's name? The Hollywood guy, Weinstein. He has a mutilated genitalia, and the women that accused him couldn't identify his mutilated genitalia. So what did I do? I Googled it. I went to search it, and guess what? She was wrong about that. Now, Candace Owens, I fact checked her many times, and I'll tell you, she's been right many, many times. However, this one instance from my Google researching, it said that the women were able to identify his mutilated genitalia. He had, I believe it was gangrene or something down there, and they had to chop him up. They had to sew him up. They had to fix him up. And he has a very distinctive scar and whatever. And the women were able to identify it. That's why he was found guilty, etc. So anyways, I'm not going to touch that I'm not going to get too much into that because I'm not an expert in that case. I didn't really follow it too much, and I've heard about it, of course. It's very popular. It's very famous, but I don't know the ins and outs. But I do remember saying, hey, wow, if that's possible, is that possible that they framed this man? I've heard so many bad things about this man. Then when I fact-checked her, she came out wrong. So I would be very careful. Now she's also saying that the president's wife is a man. She used to be a man. I have no idea. Okay, I have no idea. I haven't dug into the rabbit hole. I haven't jumped in. So if people are asking me, that's from what I heard is her beef with France. She thinks that the first lady of France used to be male. Now, whether she was or wasn't, it's none of our business, but she is a public figure, so some people are curious. They want to know. Personally, I don't really care. Coach, do you play any video games? That's from Water. When I was growing up, I used to love the game Street Fighter 2, Special Edition, especially I loved. And I got to train, the character Sagat. Did you know that every Street Fighter character is taken from a real life person? Like they were inspired by a real life person. And Sagat, the Muay Thai champion, who was the final boss in the first Street Fighter, I trained with Sagat. Sagat's an 11-time world champion. I used to live in his brother's house every summer with his nephew, training with Sagat and his brother, Sagat's brother who trained Sagat. My trainer, Peter Sissonfu, was also a training partner of Sagat, grew up with Sagat. Like, I got to live with the Sagat family, Sagat Pechendi. I got to live and train with the legend, the guy from Street Fighter, you know, the final boss in Street Fighter 1. And by the way, I've also seen the inspiration for Zangief. For those of you who don't know, Zangief was a real shoot wrestler. He wasn't a freestyle wrestler or a Greco-Roman wrestler or anything like that, or like professional wrestler like in WWE type thing. No, he was a shoot fighter, Russian guy who was called Zangief. He had the hair like so, and he was quite incredible actually. Let me look up if I can find. Actually, I probably won't be able to find him. This is old fighting, but I have seen the original Zangief in action, not live but on TV. Guys, I know we have some exciting fights next week. I can't talk about them. Don't ask me what I'm gonna do or what I'm gonna say. And obviously, I can't talk about those things. Those are like, you know, I can't talk about the fighters I train myself because it's not professional. You know? That's not why I do this podcast, not to give people ins and all that. And I just try to keep it professional, so I won't be commentating on the actual fights. Can you toggle between southpaw and orthodox? Is there a method to the madness? That's from Talal. I like to switch. As I'm doing combinations, I like to switch, but I switch right back. So I'm an orthodox style fighter. I find it comfortable. So as I'm doing a combination, I switch. Now, why do I do that? Because I learned that a long time ago from watching the Dutch train. Okay, the Dutch, I love the Dutch kickboxing. And I was a big fan of Rob Kamen. Okay, Rob Kamen, he had instructional videos. I used to watch them closely. I used to study him. I used to follow him, the late, great Rob Kamen. And he used to do one combination on one side, switch, do the combination on the other side. So if he did jab, hook, right kick, he would switch stance to southpaw. He would do jab, hook, left kick. So he would switch as a southpaw, do the same combo. And it was a great workout. It was a crazy good workout. Now, I was still orthodox, but as I was doing my combinations, sometimes, you know, my partner would circle or whatnot, and I would switch midway and I would throw my combo. And I thought it was such a great... it was such a great advantage to have, to be able to switch momentarily. So to me, I really like switching. Like George St. Pierre there's so many great fighters. But with George, I used to also when I used to train him, I used to change the combinations on the other side. And he would do it once in a while as needed in the fight. He was 95% of the time orthodox, but the few times he would switch his stance could make a big difference. Okay, so for instance, when he fought John Fitch was circling hard to George's left. Okay, so imagine I'm fighting you here and you're circling to my left side. George switched to southpaw, threw a fake left round kick, and hit him with a back fist. It was a beautiful combo. Okay, Phil Nurse combo was beautiful. But he switched it up on Fitch. You know, just that one instance made a huge difference in the fight. And of course, you know, that was a great performance by George. George had a very dominant win. However, nonetheless, the switching came out in a big way. Even though we trained it so much, it only worked. Maybe he only used it, you know, maybe like 5% of the time when he was fighting, but it made a big difference. It closed the distance. It created distance. It did so much in that little time that he used it. And sometimes you'll notice he'll throw a punch and kind of switch stance at the same time. I really like those things, especially when there's no corners. You see, in Muay Thai, they don't do that too much because if you switch around, you lose a bit of space and then you end up in the corner. Nobody wants to end up in the corner because you're kind of a sitting target, okay? But in an octagon or like traditional martial arts, where like if you see karate and taekwondo, there's no barrier, right? So switching makes more sense because you won't get caught up against the ropes or in the corner. Greetings from Sweden. That's from Matt D. Matt D, you're a gentleman and a scholar. Thank you. Ask. Oh, I misspelled ask. There's a typo in ask. My apologies. Let me fix that. You know, I hate typos, man. You can't know how much I dislike typos. Thank you for that correction. Ask me anything. All right, done. Thank you. Coach, how do you deal with decision paralysis? That's from K Test. Boil it down to 3 decisions. Like when I teach, I always teach my guys the big 3. Here are the big 3. Here are the big... If I'm teaching you one move, I'm like, here's the big 3 things you need to remember. Here's the big 3. You know, like the 3 key elements. Sometimes I have a mix of black belts, brown belts, purple belts, and some white belts and blue belts in the gym. Actually, sometimes I have a lot of those. especially in the day class. Day class is a mixed class. So like I'll give a nuanced explanation because I know the brown belts and black belts and purple belts, they're listening and they've seen this move before. So what are they going to benefit if I just give them the basics? So I kind of give it a nuance and I explain it in detail. And then I'm going to show it again. I'm going to show it a second time. Okay, guys, now I'm going to break it down, make it simpler. I'm going to distill it. Okay. Now, I don't say I'm going to distill it when I'm teaching class. I just say, all right, guys, now I'm going to break it down, make it super simple. But I'm telling you that I want to distill it. I give them a bunch of information. Maybe the black belt watching is like, hey, I didn't know that detail. I knew the 7 others, but not that one detail he hit. So I'm going to focus on that today. Now, of course, the white belts and blue belts are like, I don't know what this guy's talking about. So I'm like, okay, guys, here we go. I'm going to break it down now. I'm going to make it super simple. Keep it simple. Here's the big 3 things you need to remember. And I try, as a coach, to try to only give 3 ideas. That's it, because people can retain 3 ideas. And then a few minutes later, I'll show it again. And I'll say, guys, if you understood the first 3, here's another 3. If you didn't understand the first 3, keep working. I'm going to repeat it. I'm going to jog your memory. I'm going to help you out. Okay, so it all depends on your level. What level are you? If you've been doing jiu-jitsu for 7-8 years, I'm going to give you more details. If you've been doing jiu-jitsu 20 years, well, you know what? I'm just going to talk to you about the technique and we're going to philosophize about it and it's going to get really nuanced. But if it's your first day, I'm not going to talk to you about the concepts behind the move. No, it's almost irrelevant. I'm going to show you an exact move. Grab the arm like this, put your hand there. Like I'm going to give you something to do. That's easy for you to do. Easy enough for you to do. I always tell people, if you're doing a move and you're not doing it 80% right, if you're not getting 80% of it right, I taught you a progression that's too high. You should be able to do 80% of the move, and then I'm going to let you rep. If you can't do 80%, I'm going to stop you. I'm going to ask you to do something simpler. It's too complicated. I find that anything I show you, if you can't replicate it 80%, I showed you something too advanced. I didn't break it down far enough. I didn't make it small enough, the piece. So I'm a big believer in breaking things down, making little bites. Give the guy little bites, and he'll eventually go as far as he wants to. You can toggle between. Okay, yeah, I did that one. I don't know why they catch my eye twice. Thank you, my friends. Okay, we got super chats, guys. Don't forget, I always do super chats and the non-super chats. Slam Coach, my first question expired before you could read it. So asking again, 100 men untrained versus gorilla. That's from MSES. 100 men untrained versus a gorilla. I 100% pick the gorilla. Now we're talking like the gorilla is going to be ripping off their fingers and biting their fingers off and like maiming them, clawing them. Or is he like tamed in some way? Because if you're asking me, like the gorilla is actually going to rip their joints off, he's going to win 100%. 100%. One gorilla will destroy 100 men. Untrained men especially, destroy, maim, cripple, rip their you-know-what from between their legs. Like, it's going to be a disaster. I don't know if you know how apes hurt each other. Like, that's one of the things they go for. They bite each other's fingers off and they pull out the peaches. Why? Because they bite your fingers so you can't swing from trees. You can't climb no more. You can't, like, they're vicious. Apes are vicious. Now, I would not want to be one of those 100 men because I would run the opposite way. Do you believe in ultimate oneness where even evil is a reflection of the divine and part of the cosmic dance? That's from Bink187. Bink187 is hitting us hard with the philosophy questions. Usually I reserve these for later. No, Bink, I don't believe God is in any way evil. So evil is not part of the divine. Okay, God is all good, 100% good, no evil whatsoever. Evil is something that comes from man because I believe God gave us free will. So how do I know that? Well, I'm talking about free will. How could I talk about free will if I don't have free will? Think about it. Am I just giving lip service, or I truly understand what free will is? Well, I'm talking about I have a sense of understanding of what free will is. Now, you can have a computer and have the computer say, I think, therefore I am, and I have free will. But that would just be lip service. It has no understanding. It has no innate understanding. It cannot contemplate free will. It can only give the appearance of contemplation. That's it. It can only follow an algorithm. If this, then that. That's all it can do. Can't do any more than that. Because the appearance of free will and free will are two separate things. Now, I'll tell you that free will, human free will, is inert. It doesn't actually affect anything unless God allows. Because, we believe the world is determined. I've talked about this many times. And both atheists believe the world is determined. And both Theists, we believe the world is determined. Everybody agrees. Everybody agrees the world is determined. Everybody. However, atheists don't think there's free will. Theists, we believe there's also this other thing called free will. Yes, the world is moving the way it is. Because I want to do something doesn't mean it's going to happen. So, for instance, I just say, like, your desires are inert unless it was determined that your desires will be fulfilled. They'll manifest into the world. Now, if they're an evil desire, let's say you do something evil, it's you that chose it and it was permitted by God. But God is not evil. But God gave you free will. God gave you free will to choose that evil. So you can't be free unless evil is a choice. Coach, I didn't know Ariel Hawani is your brother. Yes, we're all related. All Middle Eastern people look the same to you, huh? Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame, shame, shame. Getting ready for a fight or escapes? Getting ready for a fight. Are escapes or submissions more important? That's from LOS21. Look, I think everything is important, but I would learn submission first. Why? Because imagine I'm teaching you how to escape armbar, but you don't even know what armbar is. That's why it doesn't make sense to me that people try to learn submissions first. It doesn't make sense. Like, what do you learn first? How to throw a punch or how to slip a punch? Well, I guess you can learn how to slip a punch. But when it comes to jiu-jitsu, if I'm teaching somebody how to escape an armbar, I feel like he doesn't even know what an armbar is. Like, here's a way you can grab a guy's arm and break it. Oh, wow. Okay, now here's a way how to not let a guy do that to you. I think that makes more sense. For me, it feels more right. And here's the other thing. I always tell my students, I want you to be on offense. So if I teach you armbar escape, guillotine escape, back escape, I feel like those guys, they find the trouble on the mat and then they escape trouble on the mat. But they always find trouble on the mat. Why? You train them. You train them. Hey, when your arm is being attacked, do this. Well, that's what they have when they go on the mat. They're like, hey, guys are going to attack me and I'm going to run away. I'm going to escape somehow. No. I want you to be on offense. Attack, attack, attack. If the guy counters you this way, we're going to counter him back and we're going to go back on the attack. Because offense wins the fight. No. I know a lot of people are going to be like, Coach, look at this fight. This guy won by defending most of the time, and then he came out and he won in the last minute. Yes, those kind of fights do happen. I agree with you 100%. You could be defending 80% of the fight and win with just 20% of offense, and you finish the guy. I get it. It does happen. However, that's an exception to the rule. The team that has most control of the football, the team that has most control of the basketball, the fighter who's mostly on offense, usually will win the fight. There are exceptions, of course. Of course, there are exceptions. But whoever controls the fight offensively, usually, in my opinion, in my observation, is going to be the victor. Is it easier to transition from striker to grappler or vice versa? I think it's better to go from wrestling grappling to striking, then striking to wrestling grappling. Why? I believe like when you're wrestling at a young age and you're doing jiu-jitsu at a young age, you develop a strength. You develop like a robustness because we're constantly pulling on your joints, on your neck, on your back. You're constantly squeezing, it's so much like you're grinding you're grinding your gears. It's tough. It's a tough business, mentally tough too. Where striking is great, of course. Striking is also tough. It's very, it's a very difficult sport as well. But you're not getting the joint strength. I feel like when you wrestle, your joints the tendons in your body are really strong, etc. It's like it just develops another level of strength. So then when you teach them striking, they're like better athletes. I find that they're better athletes. They hit harder. They're more tenacious. They can take shots better. Why? They're just built like metal. It's crazy, So I rather, like my kids, they're young. I make them do a lot of wrestling and jiu-jitsu, very little striking. And here's the other thing is that I don't want you to strike till you're older, till your brain is fully developed. I don't think that just doing drills and striking drills, I think you plateau quite quickly without sparring, right? So would you make young kids spar? I personally wouldn't. Why would I risk their IQ points and their temperament, etc.? I think that's something you want to do later in life. Coach, did you see Ian Gary's wife caress Joaquin Buckley's arm during weigh-ins? That's from Hani Mali. Come on, that can't be true. I don't believe you. That cannot be true, but I will verify. I'm going to fact check you, son. I'm going to fact check you, my son. Buckley arm. Let's see. No way. Why did Ian Gary's wife touch Joaquin? Okay, here it is.
Comes over to me, grabs my arm, and say, "I'm gonna see you later on tonight." Girl, what the that mean? I'm trying to see him, not you. Miss Machado? Because it's not Gary, right? He took her name. Isn't that how the story goes? So Mrs. Machado turns to Buckley and grabs his arm. Now she's saying something, but Buckley chose to describe her grabbing his arm as a caress. Now see, those are fighting words. Buckley knew they were fighting words, and he came.
Do we actually see it? Do we actually see the physical contact? Hold on a second. Okay, here it is. Here it is. Here it is. I'm watching right now. I'm going to tell you right now if it happened. Ouch. Guys, all I saw was her hand go on his elbow, but he's claiming she caressed his arm. I don't know, man. I don't know. While she was holding his child, she hands it off to Ian Gary, and then she turns around and she walks towards Buckley. Maybe she just went to say hello, but I mean, those are two guys who are probably going to fight. You know, I don't know why you would. I don't know. None of my business. I don't know. I can't. I don't know. I have no idea. Coach, what do you think of Bashar and this situation? Bashar, excuse me, and the situation in Syria. That's from someone I'm not very privy on what's going on there. I'll be honest with you. I haven't researched it. I haven't looked it up. I'm not sure. I know there was a revolution. I know that Assad was like super violent and super like repressive. I hope the new regime is not as repressive. I don't know much about them. I don't know their biography, so forgive my ignorance. Coach, thoughts on Bilal potentially going to middleweight? That's from Johnny. That's pretty tough because I think Bilal's like 5'9". It's gonna be tough at middleweight. The guys are so taught up middleweight. Like it's really, it's doable. He's a big guy. He's a big thick guy. He's a strong guy for sure. But the reach, there's a point where I think the reach might be a problem. Because those guys get pretty tall. I mean, look at Ian Gary. I mean, look how tall he is. Look how lanky he is. Could be a difficult thing. Coach, can we get that high protein, low calorie pizza recipe you've been making? That's from Connor. Connor, that's a tough. I gotta. Oh, actually, you know what? Connor? Give me a second here. Let me see if I can give you the link. I'm gonna give you the link to some good pizza. You want good pizza? Oh yeah, I got a link for you. Hold on. I'm gonna give you guys a great link, guys. This is such a great link. This guy has a great channel on YouTube. He shows you how to make the pizza. Oh man, this is a killer video. Oh man, where is it? I'm gonna find you guys. Okay, here it is. I found it. Okay, here we go. Where is the pizza guy? Okay, hold on a second. Here it is. Flexible diet lifestyle. Oh man, this guy's pizza recipes are out of control. The guy's channel is called Flexible Dieting Lifestyle. Okay, he has a whole 25 low calorie, high protein pizza recipes. It's wow. I'm telling you, it's really wow. I'm just putting the link right now into the chat. I'm sure you guys are able to copy it. This guy has an incredible channel. He gives you like really, really good high protein, low cal recipes. Coach, if you could, would you do polygyny? That's from Water. Yeah, if I lived in the country and I had the means and the money, I would probably have maybe 2-3 wives. It depends how rich I was. If I was really, really rich, I would do 4 wives. Sure, definitely. Why not? What's the harm? I would want to have more kids. I want to have I would love to have like 10, 15, 20 children. I would love that. If I had the means to do it, I would without a doubt do it. Coach, you like all Al-Jalani? The new Syrian president? That's from Rainbow. Rainbow, like I said, my apologies. I haven't researched enough. I don't know who he is. I don't know much about him. Is Khamzat overrated or what? That's from Scott. No, not at all. Khamzat is arguably one of the greatest fighters ever. He hasn't done it yet, but I'm telling you, he will be in that topic of discussion. He hasn't done it yet. He hasn't won his titles. He hasn't been on a title run yet. But his next fight, hopefully against DDP, he wins the title, and then I think it's going to be a long time before somebody beats him. It's going to be a tall order to beat Khamzat. It's going to be very, very difficult. Coach, how is the coffee with protein? Jeffrey asked, how's the protein with coffee going? I'm still doing it every day. I love it. I really, really love it. Hey, Coach, I just got out of a relationship of 4 years. Any tips on moving on? That's from Mo. 4 years. That's quite a while. Well, I'll tell you something, Mo. I always, on a regular basis, have a student that I haven't seen in a while walk in, and I recognize the student. I haven't seen him maybe in a year, 2 years, sometimes 4 years. But I always recognize one thing. When he walks in, he's overweight. The last I saw him, he was like 20 pounds lighter, and now he's overweight. And he walks in the gym, and he's like, hey, Coach, I missed you. I haven't seen you. I'm like, oh, yeah, great to see you. What happened? I said, don't even tell me why you haven't been here. I know exactly what it is. He's like, they all smile like, you met a girl, you fell in love, you got into it. You're like, oh, I'm so into this girl. You forgot about training. You didn't have time for training no more. And after a while, she broke up with you. And now you're coming back because you need to get in shape. Like, yeah, that's exactly what happened. I see that all the time. Women like men who are in shape. They love men who do jiu-jitsu, boxing, wrestling, MMA. They love that. And they love a guy who doesn't have that much time for them. Like, he has time, but not so much time. His time is scarce. They love that. When you stop training, you lost your fitness. You're not fit no more. You're not a guy who does MMA or jiu-jitsu anymore. And you have an abundance of time. She used to miss you. She's too excited to see you. She's happy. This is just a furniture now. That guy's furniture. I've seen him all day. I saw him for 8 hours. I'm sick of his face. It kind of kills the sizzle. So, sometimes I joke with my kids. I tell them, look, the secret of my relationship is when my wife comes home from work, I'm leaving to go to the gym. And then when I'm done from the gym, I don't come back home until she's fallen asleep. So I finish late, and I'm like, oh, I know my wife goes to bed like, she wakes up really early. So on 9:15, she's in bed. I don't come home till 9:15. Now, on the weekend, my wife's like super excited to spend time with me. Now, I jokingly say that I time it that way. I really don't know, because our schedules just happen to conflict like that. I train in the morning. She's gone really early, so I wake up. She's not home. I run practice in the morning and afternoon. Then I come home. I take a nap. I relax. I eat. Then when she finishes work, I go to night practice. So I don't see her that much during the week. I'm telling you, I spend maybe maximum 30, 40 minutes a day with her from Monday to Friday. Friday is more of our evening where we hang out. But on the weekend, she's like super excited. She hasn't seen her husband. No, she really wants to spend time with her husband. She's all like, she's frothing at the mouth. Women love men who are busy. If you're hanging out with your woman 8 hours a day, I'm telling you, you will have friction over time. She can't take that much of you. If you gain weight, if you're not training, I find it's like shooting yourself in the foot. And I've seen it 100 times. A guy comes in, I haven't seen him in years. He's overweight. I know exactly. I see the look in his eye. I know exactly. I'm a mind reader. I could see the look in his eye. I've seen that look so many times. All right. What else we got here? Abbas Murtada, Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much, sir. You're a gentleman and a scholar. All right. No pork toppings. No, of course not. No pork toppings, Rainbow. Of course not. Shame on you. That's haram. Make the pizza with halal and no pork toppings. Of course. That goes without saying. Mashallah, I agree, Coach. That's the life. Water. See, I knew just the way you typed it, I knew. No, it's just such a common recurrence. It's a common recurrence. Boy meets girl. Boy puts everything into girl. Girl dumps boy. Boy starts back to square one. And after a while, he gets wiser. He gets smarter. All right, guys, here we go. Next super chat is from Miller. Coach, what concept do you use to avoid people getting a saddle position on you or underneath you? Thank you for all your wisdom. That's from Miller. Miller, I avoid the saddle like the plague because it's very dangerous to get caught in saddle. Okay, so saddle is cross ashi, 411, or inside heel hook. I find it's the most dangerous of all the heel hooks. Like 50-50 is an inside heel hook, and cross ashi or saddle is an inside heel hook. That's the most dangerous one. Like if a guy catches you like that, you're going to get tapped or you're going to break your ACL if you don't tap. So it's, in my opinion, the worst way to get caught in a heel hook. So me, I try to avoid it. I try to foresee it. I try not to let the steps, I try not to let the match develop in a way where I'm going to end up with my heel exposed. I feel like that's a really dangerous place to be. If I am in the saddle, my favorite escape is the running man escape. I'm a big believer in the running man escape. Now, nowadays, there's a new leg lock called the Woj leg lock that's circulating, and it's kind of making everybody have to rethink our leg lock escapes. Why? Because when you do running man now, you're kind of going into a Woj lock. You're going into the Woj lock. So if I have a saddle on you and you start rolling and escaping with the running man escape, you might get caught in a Woj. So now I'm like doubly scared because my favorite escape now kind of goes into this new leg lock that we didn't have last year. Maybe not last year. Maybe like a year and a half ago we didn't have it. Now we're all doing Woj lock. Everybody in the gym is doing Woj. If you spin the wrong way, man, we put you in a Woj. It's a great, great leg lock. Now, we all have to start rethinking our escapes. So my new way of thinking about it now is like, don't even let them get close to the heel because we have to figure out how to get out of that Woj lock before we start doing our old school running escapes. All right, guys, I'm looking at the poll. 37% of you think Trump is playing 3D chess. His tariff war, he's doing great with a tariff war. 63% believe he's bananas. Honestly, I personally don't know what to make of it. I feel like when I hear him talk, he's just pushing buttons. Like he doesn't know what he's doing. He's like me with trying to program the software. He just doesn't know what he's doing. He's just banging on keys. It's scary. Coach, Silverback versus 100 Francis Ngannou. That's from Tanvir. Now we have a much better fight. That's a much, much better fight. If the Francis Ngannous don't run away, like if they don't run away, like one of them's going to get his genitalia ripped out. If the other ones don't run and scatter, like they're programmed to fight, that could be good. That could be a win for the 100 Ngannous. I could see that. It's possible. The man from Nepal, assalamu alaikum. I was agreeing with you, the polygamy comment you made, but I appreciate the wisdom from the time with wife statement. That's from Water. Yes, okay, I hear you. Look, keep your time with your wife somewhat scarce, somewhat. Don't make it too abundant. You know what they say? There's a great saying. It says, absence makes the heart grow fonder. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Ibn Arabi is so profound. How come modern Muslims are not reading up on him? ? Have you read his Fusas al-Hikam? It makes sense and truth is universal. That's from Blink 187. Blink, you're asking a very profound question. Like, I'm going to tell you something, okay? Before the Muslims were colonized, science and religion was one. So our scholars used to study math, science, history, and Islam. They used to mix it all together, okay? They were polymaths. In the time of Ibn Arabi, they were polymaths. What does that mean? They studied every science. That's why you see me. I love science. I love history. I love physics. I love everything. Okay, I'm a specialist in one domain, but I still love everything. And I love the physical training. I love the physical knowledge. Like, talk to me about war. How do we war? How do we fight? How can we fight? Like, what's the strategy? What's the technique? I love it all. I study it all. Today, after colonialism, the Muslims, they were heavily discouraged. You have to look this up because this is a fact. They were heavily discouraged from science, math, history, engineering, etc. They were more encouraged by the colonialists to focus. You can study your religion, but don't go in these areas. Their schools were defunded. We were colonized. We were controlled. We were made to feel, subjugated, etc. So the Muslims had other things on their plate. But in the golden era of Islam, they were polymaths. Because the Quran clearly tells you, like, study the dunya and yourself. Like, study everything about the human being and everything around you. There's a famous hadith. The Prophet ﷺ tells the Muslims, if there's knowledge in China, go to China. Meaning, like, China's like the end of the world. It's the furthest place we know. And an Arab never heard of a further place than China. If there's knowledge there, go. You know what? I was saying that to one Muslim guy who was a very religious guy. And he was like, no, that was referring to religious knowledge. So he was trying to tell me, no, don't go to philosophy, science, logic. Go to religious knowledge. But there was no religious knowledge in China at that time. Like, I'm telling him, no. The hadith doesn't say, if there's religious knowledge in China, go to China. It said, if there's knowledge in China, go to China. You can't be clearer than that. So like if you ask this, if you quoted this hadith in the golden age, they would tell you, of course, go to China. Learn arithmetic, learn logic, learn about gunpowder, learn about paper, learn about anything. Whatever they have, learn it. Study it. Master it. That's actually Ghazali's position. Ghazali says, look, before you refute anybody's position, you have to completely understand it first. And sometimes I hear Muslims like, oh, this guy has this worldview. Oh, it's dismissed for this one reason. I'm like, no, you can't do that. Like, you have to fully understand that man's worldview. You have to be a master of their thinking before you can criticize them, before you can even understand what they're talking about. You have to master their worldview. The attitudes have changed over time. So even now when it comes to our books, they're like, no, that's not like in a nutshell. It's not like basic. It's something profound. Oh, I don't know. I dismiss it all completely. But you don't understand what the man is trying to say. You don't understand the man's position, yet you're willing to dismiss him. Okay, I think this is a poor attitude. We should really heavily discourage it, especially in our day and age where information is passing around so fast, faster and faster. You have more access to information than ever. So people are going to know more than ever. People are going to be 21 years old and know what they're going to have the wisdom of an 80-year-old 100 years ago. Why, that 80-year-old took him forever to amass all this knowledge. You at 21, you're online, your books online, you have classes online, you have information at the speed of light. 24 hours a day, you have access to information. You have ChatGPT, you have Google, you have unlimited resources. You want to know something? Fact check. Easy, it's at your fingertips. Of course, you're going to come across more knowledge than the people in the 1900s. So you should know more. But before you go in the grave, you should know a ton more. It's just a shift in our culture, which we have to quickly shift back. Because I'm a big believer in knowing everything. You must know everything. Now, you got to be a specialist in something. You got to be a specialist. But you should know a lot about everything. That's my opinion. And anybody who tells you otherwise, I think is completely wrong. What is your favorite half butterfly guard pass? That's from Miller Cabrera. Look, I have a lot of passes I like to do, of course. But me, when I'm in half guard and they put their butterfly hook, I like to sprawl. So let's say he puts this butterfly hook on my right leg. I like to sprawl my right hip to the floor. So I drop my right hip real heavy. So if he tries to lift me, I drop my hip to the floor and I lift my shoulders and chest higher than my hips. So if they try to lift me, it's like I have never been lifted like that. Like they could be super strong. They won't be able to lift you. And it just makes it just crushes their hook. It just crushes their hook. And I'll also turk the leg. And then from there, I'll kind of go chest to chest and kind of pressure pass. I find it's just really crippling on It just cripples the butterfly hook. Hey, Coach, are you also related to Gad Saad since he's related to Ariel? That's from Charles. Charles, do all Arabs look the same to you? Do we? Honestly? You can't tell the difference? No, I'm not related to neither Ariel nor Gad Saad, okay? Nor Gad Saad. It's actually funny because I just saw a clip of Gad Saad today. Really despicable clip. Really, like, super despicable. He's like, oh, the religion of Islam, they want to kill all the Jewish people. I'm like, what? Like, that's crazy, man. I love that Joe Rogan gave him, like, Joe Rogan's like, come on, is it really that bad? And he's like, this is what God said. Okay, I'm paraphrasing here because I'm doing my best from memory. He says, well, all you got to ask him, hi, how are you? Hi, my name is, if he'll tell you his name is Ahmed, then the next thing he's going to tell you is got to kill all the Jews. Got to get rid of all of them. Got to get rid of all of them. We got to eradicate them all. I'm like, that's disgusting, man. That is so disgusting. Now he misquoted a hadith completely wrong. He's saying, oh, you got to expel all the Christians and Jews from the peninsula. No. That command was to the pagan. He's completely taking out of context. Okay, that was a war that lasted over 10 years versus pagans. Now pagans were, look, I gotta tell you, I'm not gonna put it in a nutshell, but there was a long peace process, many negotiations with the pagans, between Muslims and pagans, and eventually culminated to us the Muslims pushing them out of the peninsula. Yes, there was a variety of reasons. One, we could not get to peace, and two, they practiced child sacrifice. Okay, the pagans, don't forget, pagans literally practiced child sacrifice. They killed children. Okay, infanticide. This was deemed intolerable, incapable, and there was a few other things, of course, but this is a major clash, and there was non-stop attempt at brokering peace. People don't know this, but there was a year where the Muslims and the pagans did tawaf together, like in Mecca. It did happen. They tried to coexist. This is a very long, complicated scenario, and he just takes it out of context and he superimposes it on Christians and Jews. That's a complete lie. That's a complete lie. Complete fabrication. There was never a time where Jews and Christians were expelled from the peninsula because of their religion. Never. If any group was expelled, it was politics, and after many treaties were tried and many negotiations were attempted. It's an oversimplification. If it was true, we had to do that. What he said, the unthinkable, like we got to, kill them all. That's which is absurd and disgusting and ridiculous. How does he explain history? Like, there's so much history of Jews and Muslims living together. There's so much. There's 1,000 years of it, well-recorded history, where Jewish people are thanking their Muslim rulers for letting them hide in their land from the Christian massacres. How could he? Oh man, it's just so incredibly ignorant what he said. And at one part he's like, I remember at another part he's like, oh, Egypt used to be Christian. Okay, I'd love to ask you, before it was Christian, what was it before? It was pagan. How did it become all Christian all of a sudden? How did that happen? With hugs and kisses? Was it hugs and kisses? Did everybody hold hands and sing Kumbaya? No. Christianity came, Christianity spread, and then, Islam came and spread as well. Now, in Islam, there was no forced conversions. That was those were exceptions, not the rule. In Islam, we don't force conversion. We don't. How did the Roman Empire become Christian? Hugs and kisses? What happened to all the pagans under Christianity? What happened to them? What happened to the Jewish people under Christianity? What happened to them? They all had to flee to Muslim lands. This is like completely backwards. It's got it completely backwards. Look up historian Mark Cohen. Mark Cohen says, what does Mark Cohen say? Jews were more tolerated, by and large, than in European Christian countries. He outright says it. He's a Jewish historian. He says, look, Jews had a better time under Muslim rule than under Christian rule. Under Muslim rule, they had their golden age. Gad Saad is completely backwards. He's spitting out very dangerous rhetoric. He's saying, look, this group wants to annihilate you. It's completely untrue. We're allowed to marry Jewish people. You're allowed to marry a Jewish woman. A Muslim man is allowed to marry a Jewish woman. What is he trying to sleep at night, trying to think, hey, how am I gonna I don't even know how to say it. How am I gonna delete this person? Is that what you think we're thinking? Like, you marry a Jewish girl, then you're sleeping in bed and you're asking yourself, like, is he crazy? Is he mad? Is he insane? He said that if you say hello to an Ahmad, the next words out of his mouth are gonna be, we gotta kill the you-know-who. That's disgusting and insane, guys. That is disgusting and insane. I am offended to no end. I am offended to no end that he would say something so disgusting. Shame on Gatsad. How does he explain that the Jewish golden age was under Islamic rule? I would love to ask him that. Mr. Gatsad, I raise my hand. I want to ask you a question. How did Jews thrive under Islam if that was true? You're such an incompetent fool. I know you're an intelligent guy, but on this case, you're blinded by hate, man. You are blinded by hate. Yes, Islam spread. Yes. So did Christianity. Why don't you take aim at the Christians who actually incentivize programs, Holocaust, massacres, genocides? The Crusades, were the Crusades friendly to the Jewish people? Were the Crusades friendly to the Jewish people? The Crusades weren't even friendly to other Christians. If you were not the same sect, they would annihilate you. When the Crusaders conquered Jerusalem, they killed the Armenian Christian. He's really psychotic. The guy's psychotic. He hates Muslims. He's insane. The guy's insane. He's saying incredibly ignorant and dangerous things. He's spreading fear. It's incredibly inaccurate. Coach, did you ever watch Fight Club, and what do you think about existentialism? That's from Dogs Out. I thought the movie was great. When I first watched it, I didn't want to watch it. I didn't want to watch a movie about fighting. Then when I saw the story, I actually really, really liked it. I thought the story was great. You know, I have my own spin on what the story means and how I thought it was the writing was fantastic. What do I think about existentialism? I'm not a big fan. I think they got it backwards. You know, because they say essence precedes. Like, look, you exist before there's meaning. There's no meaning to life. You make your own meaning. It's one of those, like, you know, you woke up in this world and there's no meaning because, you know, Sartre was an atheist. And he's like, look, you got to make your own meaning. You got to find your own meaning, which is basically meaningless. I just found it to be like he's trying to massage a major problem and he didn't fix the problem. If there's no God and the world is meaningless and your life is just a light between two darknesses. There was an eternity of darkness and your life is this spark, this flash of light that's just meaningless. It's a complete fluke. It'll never happen again. You're going to go back to eternal darkness. You might as well die on the day you were born. It doesn't make a difference. And he's saying, well, okay, I see the problem. But you know what? Put on a happy face. Maybe you can make a meaning out of your own life. It's like, it's so like, I don't know, just completely wrong. I don't want to get into why, but I was unconvinced and not compelled by anything he says. Anything, honestly. I was not impressed or compelled by anything Sartre said. Coach, what kind of small business would you recommend the youth today? That's from Ahmed. That's a really good question. With the tariff wars, try to get into service business because, you know, buying product right now is going to be tough. You know, try to get into the service business so you have less overhead. Because men hold a dominant position in marriage, kids often follow their father and his lineage. That's from Green B. Well, look, for the vast majority of history, men led their families. Nowadays, we're seeing a flip, especially in the Western countries. Don't forget, guys, I'm born in a Western country. A lot of people say, Coach, why are you always talking about the West? Because I live in the West. If I was living in the East, I would be talking about every problem in the East. I would be, oh man, they would hate to turn on my channel. I would critique them every day. That's what a philosopher does. We critique our societies. We ask you to be better. We ask you to climb higher. We ask you to see farther. We want you to see farther. We want you to think deeper. We want you to get more. Now in our society, women rule. Women rule the society. So there was a time where the man was in charge. The man called the shots. The man's word was the final word. It's written in the Bible. It's written in the Quran. But in our liberal views in the West, we've kind of flipped it. Let the woman take charge, you know. Happy wife, happy life, they say. You'll never hear me say that. You'll never hear me give you that advice. I'm just quoting what they say in our culture here. Happy wife, happy life. Now, I think it's cute and funny to say that, but do I believe it to be true? No, I don't. I don't believe it to be true. I think if you try to appease your wife, you're going to end up divorced. That's my opinion. I think you have to be good to your wife. I think you have to treat your wife well. I think you have to love your wife. I think you have to be like so many things, so useful to your wife, you know. But don't crawl on your knees. No woman likes a man who's a doormat. In my opinion, I don't think a woman likes a man who's a doormat. No. Does a woman like an overbearing, mean, critical, negative partner? No, that I don't believe either. I think there's a middle ground. I think there's a right amount. Okay, so you're not a doormat, but you're not an abrasive, mean, insulting, cold-hearted brute. No, there's not. You don't want to be that either. Okay, so I believe there's, a happy balance of loving, friendly, kind, but I have a line you don't cross. I have a line. I have a backbone. I have a line. There's certain things I don't like, and I'll let you know when I don't like it. I think that shows that you have a spine. Because some men pretend, oh, I don't mind, but they're really burning inside. And the thing is, everybody knows you don't like that. Who would like to be treated like such? Sometimes I see the way men are treated in our society. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. I'd rather be single. I'd rather be single than be treated like this. Please, coach, I'm tired of being fat and impatient. I'm 220 pounds. When I'm fit, I'm 176 pounds. I was thinking of doing an extended fast, like 3 to 4 weeks until I'm at my desired body weight. Thoughts? That's from JZ Argo. No, don't do that. Okay. Listen, I'm going to give you really simple advice. Okay. Really, really simple advice. You're going to lose the weight. I want you to eat only. Don't starve yourself. It's not going to work. You're going to end up binging. You're going to end up gaining all the way back. You're going to lose muscle. You're going to end up having no energy to train. You're going to feel horrible. It's an insane thing. It's high risk. I'm going to tell you exactly what to eat. It's super simple. Okay? You're going to eat chicken breast. You can marinate it. You can marinate your chicken breast. Okay? Baked potato. You can put a little touch of olive oil and salt. Broccoli. That's it. Now, once you get to your desired weight, I will tell you could even eat rice. Okay? But for those are the 3 main ingredients you eat. Now, you need to eat a few other things, like a few fruits and vegetables and maybe a salad here and there. But that's where you get your calories from. Every time you're hungry, it's chicken breast, baked potato, broccoli. Super simple. How do you prepare your potato? Super easy, man. You wash your potato, you cut it in half. You put a little bit of olive oil on it, just a little bit, salt. Put it in the oven, 45 minutes, 400 degrees Fahrenheit. It's going to come out crispy, tasty. Eat that. It's very difficult to overeat chicken breast. It is very difficult to overeat potatoes, baked potatoes, not fried, obviously. It is very difficult. It's impossible to overeat broccoli. You have those 3 foods. Lunch, dinner, lunch, dinner, lunch, dinner. Skip breakfast. When lunch comes, eat as much broccoli, potato, and chicken as your heart desires. Okay, when you marinate the chicken, don't sabotage yourself. Okay, put maybe garlic, what's it called? Greek yogurt, zero-fat Greek yogurt. This is a low-fat diet, by the way. Zero-fat Greek yogurt. Put maybe some spices, marinate it, let it sit in there, or go like I do sometimes. Sometimes I just put salt. I put my chicken breast, salt. That's it. That's all it is. I cook it in the oven, man. It's all cooked in the oven. Or I'll cook it on a pan if I need to. You eat those 3 ingredients, it's almost impossible. It's almost impossible. You would have to sabotage the diet to gain weight. You will lose weight, I promise you. If you eat chicken breast, baked potato, and broccoli. You can't overeat those 3 items. Like, you're going to get so much nutrients. Now, there are other things you need, because I will tell you, look, every other day have a salad, have a fruit here and there, but the bulk of your calories, 80% of your calories should come from those 3 items. Once you get to your desired weight, you can replace the potatoes with rice, and you can eat other things. And if you feel like you gain weight, you go back to this potato, chicken breast, and broccoli diet. Hey, Coach, please give us your take on the Shroud of Turin. I've seen Islamic scholars talk about it, but they weren't very strong arguments and showed a lot of bias. That's from review. Well, I only saw a little bit of, there's a new claim now that they tested it and it's 2,000 years old. Now, here's the thing. I've seen documentaries on the Shroud of Turin many years ago. Okay, many years ago. Now they're claiming that they can carbon date it to 2,000 years ago, which would be very significant. Now, the last time they carbon dated to about 600 years ago. Okay, if I remember correctly, something like that. Now, some people were arguing, well, it was caught in the fire, so they repaired it. Those fibers were the outer edge, and that's what was carbon tested. So they're saying, look, you guys carbon tested the wrong fibers. So there's some speculation. Now I saw some headlines. They're saying it's 2,000 years old, and the imprint has been done with some kind of like, what do you call it? Radioactive, like how the image got on the cloth was some kind of like radioactive light or something. So they're saying, look, when Jesus must have resurrected, it must have emitted this crazy amount of light. I would love to have that tested by an independent third party. That's the thing. You got to kind of like be careful, because a lot of people will say things like that because they're Christian and have a bias, or they have this, they want to get the headline. That's the thing. I'm very skeptical. I would love to see a deeper examination, a serious one, a forensics examination. Get to the bottom of it, because I've seen so many theories on the Shroud of Turin. So many theories. Like one guy was saying, look, this is how you make it. You take a guy, you splash him with human blood, you sit him on a shroud, front and back, and then you get the perfect imprint. You don't have to try to manually do it. You could do it with a human body, a person who's alive. And you can mimic it. You could put the crown of thorns. You could do all that. Now they're trying to say, okay, that can't be right because there's this like radiation. What's this radiation? Like, I'd have to see what the source is. How did they measure radiation? We'd have to do some scrutiny, because here's what you don't want to do. You don't want to read a headline and be like, oh, I understand. It must be, therefore must be that the story is true. We'd have to examine it further. What is the claim? How does radiation work? Like, what do the experts say? Not me personally, but what do the experts say, and how do they explain it? You'd have to find a subject matter expert. And then you'd want to do your due diligence. You'd have to find another subject matter expert who has no interest in agreeing with the first guy. He doesn't even know what the first guy said. That's due diligence, right? You don't tell them what the first subject matter expert said. And you compare the two. If you have a doubt, you get a third, a fourth, So let's say you have, let's say you have an intestinal issue. You go to one doctor, he gives you advice. He tells you, I think it's this and that. Well, I would go to another doctor if it's a serious issue and see if he says the same thing. Maybe he's going to come to a different conclusion. Maybe the first doctor, he missed something. If you go to a third doctor, if you have the means to do it, you go to a third doctor. Maybe you find the best guy in the world who's an expert in this, and you get a second or third opinion. Then you can start to formulate what makes sense. But these opinions have to be independent, of course. So I haven't, took a deep dive in the Shroud of Turin in a long, long time. But the last time I did take a deep dive, it was highly inconclusive. If there's new information, which I'm seeing headlines that there is and whatnot, I will definitely, I'm very interested in learning more. Coach, how do you manage classes when you have hobbyists and competitive athletes, different goals, but same class? That's from Juan. Well, we have a basics class that runs 6 days a week. Okay, so like if you're beginner, we have a basics class. But like if you're good enough to get on all levels in math and the advanced class, yes, absolutely. But you're going to drill along the pros. Now, if I see that you're a little bit, because the thing is, when I see the pros drilling, I'll walk up to them as they're drilling and I'll tell them something else to do. Like I don't have to stop the whole class. You understand? So a lot of times I'll take some of the guys who are really advanced. I'm like, okay, you guys are drilling this. and this and that, and I'll give them what I want to do, but I won't give that to the whole class. So when I stop the class to give a lesson, that's for everybody. And then I have maybe this guy who's fighting this type of fighter, I have this other guy, he has another type of fight. So I might go individually and ask them that I want them to work on this or that. Okay, so maybe I was watching them spar in the morning, and then I felt they had this issue. We have to address it. So at night, they're going to get specific information. Okay, so I give a general lesson, and then for the more advanced guys, I give them more specific things. All right, guys, we've been rolling 1 hour. Okay, guys, no more 100 whatever versus gorilla. Okay, we did that. We put that to bed. Hey, coach, would you make your kids go to college? Would you push them towards majors with real life skills? Just wondering how much you value secondary education. That's from Langas. Yes, I definitely want my kids to go to college. It depends, because the thing is, like, getting a college degree now sometimes could be tedious. Like because there's so many people with degrees now. It doesn't mean what it used to mean. I'm not against higher education, of course not. I love it and I appreciate higher education. I'm just saying it's not like it used to be. It used to be you had a degree, you could find a job. You had a diploma, you could find a job. Now it's like you have a diploma, well, get in line because there's 100 other guys asking for the same job with the same diploma. It's just so much more competitive now. So there's that to consider as well. But education for me is paramount. It's something I find I hold very dear. Coach, how do you feel about David Deutsch's epistemology? The idea that all knowledge is conjecture. Do you think that changes how we should see scientific progress or authority? That's from Barlico. Well, if all knowledge is conjecture, he's conjecturing right now. That's a conjecture. So if he's wrong, then all knowledge is not conjecture. So he's admitting that he doesn't know. It might be real. It might not be real. So what he should say is that it's possible that all knowledge is conjecture. Guys, for those of you not familiar, conjecture is almost like a guess. Okay, it's almost like a guess. Let me get the exact definition of conjecture. An opinion or conclusion formed on the basis of incomplete information. It's kind of like an educated guess, let's call it. Okay, incomplete information. It's never certain. Okay, so in philosophy, we differentiate between two things. Things you believe are true and things you know are true. That is two very separate things. I believe something is true or I know something is true. Wow. There's a whole universe between that, When are you so certain about something you could say, I know it's true? I don't believe it. I know it. Now, in day-to-day life, we'll use the word know very often. I know I have to be work at 9 o'clock. I know that. You know that we start work at 9. In philosophy, getting to I know is very difficult because you have to remove every other possibility, which is, take my word for it, very difficult. Very difficult. We see most things as belief. Now, there are things we know. There are things we all agree we know. But most of it is belief. Okay? Belief is it's conjecture. It's not a guess. It's the most educated guess. It's the best we know of. That's the highest level we can get without actually knowing. We know, but there's some doubt. We believe, but there's some doubt. That's conjecture. It's our best guess. Conjecture is actually a little bit weaker than that, I would say. But long story short, it is very difficult to remove all other possibilities. It is very difficult. How do you feel about Carl Jung and his theories of synchronicities? That's from Jay. I agree. Everything is synchronized in the world. Nothing happens for no reason. Okay, so I believe in determinism. I've talked about it many times, but I'll tell you something. I believe that things are are done in the world to not let you see. Like a lot of people be like, I don't know, let's say for instance, I don't know, let me give you for instance, something that's so, it almost seems miraculous. It was so unlikely, it seems miraculous. Like, let's say for instance, you're waiting on a heart transplant and they tell you, look, you're never going to get one. You're 20 years down the list. Like there's 20 years worth of people waiting. And you need your heart in the next, I don't know, 30 days. Or you're going to die. And they're like, your chances are 0. Well, guess what? On the 29th day, which happens to be your birthday, you get the heart transplant and you're going to live a full and normal life. I'm just making these numbers up. I know they don't make sense. Okay. And you're like, wow, on my birthday, I got this gift. And I was not supposed to get one, but they gave me this heart because it only fits me, and all the people in front of me, it actually doesn't fit them. So they go down the list, and it so happened that I was 20 years down. Like there was thousands of people ahead of me, and I was the guy that gets the heart because it's an exact match for me. And not only that, the guy ahead of me, so let's say I was 2017, the guy who's 2016, he was a match. But guess what? He died that morning. What? Did you like blow your mind? And then you find all these coincidences where it's like there were so many crazy circumstances that made it so unlikely you would get the heart, but you got it. Boom. And then you'd be like, man, this can't be a fluke. This can't be like, this is like, especially when you know about the determinism. You'd be like, wow, this is like a gift from God. But I also believe that we're given so much mitigating information that we can't see. We can't see into the future. You know, we can't see because the whole world is determined, but we can't compute. We cannot compute all the variables. That's what we can't see. But we know it is. We just know it's a byproduct of our ignorance. The reason why we can't see what's in the future is because of our ignorance. Not that it's not written. Not that it's not inevitable. The future is inevitable. The future is inevitable. There's no way to deter it. However, we can't see it because of ignorance, because we cannot compute all the variables. So I believe the variables are there to keep us from seeing. It's a veil, you know. In our tradition, we call it a veil. There's a veil. There's a veil. You can't see it, but we know it to be true. So I think it was Carl Jung coming to his understanding that the world is determined. Everything is synchronized. Yes, everything is synchronized. The ancients knew that. He just reiterated it because he had that epiphany as well. Coach, how many hobbies is too much? I currently shoot guns, play guitar, train boxing and jiu-jitsu, and I'm in trade school. Larry Bird, the man. Larry Bird. You sound like an exciting fellow. You sir, sound like a man who has a lot going on for him. Coach, how many hobbies is too much? I currently shoot guns. I like that one. Look, I got to tell you, I envy you. I wish I could train firearms. I wish I could be like the guy at the Olympics. You know, the guy who had one hand in his pocket and he's like wearing just like the regular sunglasses and he's like pew, 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 pew. And he got like second place. Everybody else had these high tech equipment and they're like shooting at a target that's supposed to be like the size of your thumbnail, and they're like and this guy comes in, no equipment, nothing, and he's like bang, 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 bang. I thought that guy was so cool. Now, I've been to the shooting range. I'm not a great shot at all. But I'll tell you, it's something I would like to learn. What else do you do? Guitar, train boxing, and jiu-jitsu. I would tell you, look, maybe not do the guitar thing. I think the guns and the jiu-jitsu and the boxing is better. The guitar, I mean, you know, maybe that's a little overkill. You're a little bit too interesting with the guitar. Sam, Coach, how would you balance between medical studies and marriage? By the way, have you heard of Ustad Abdurrahman Hassan? No, I'm not sure who that is. Medical studies, I will tell you something, okay? Like, are you using the most efficient study methods? This is so crucial. Study methods. How good are your study methods? Study methods is huge. So I will tell you, like, I got a lot done in my day while I was studying. It's crazy, but I had a lot of different study methods. One thing I would do, it was I put down on a piece of paper everything I need to learn, everything I need to memorize. And I would carry that paper with me all the time. Now you don't need that. Now we have phones and you could do it all digitally. But I would tell you, I would have constantly, the information I needed to memorize was constantly on my person, always. When I was in my car and I was commuting, it was playing on audio cassette. Like I was constantly reviewing my material. And as I got older, I started using mnemonics. My mnemonics were huge, especially for biology. I don't know where you're at in your medical training, but I've talked about this many times. The study of mnemonics is massive. Jimmy Earl at $5. Thank you very much. Hey coach, how's the high protein going? Question mark. Please have a Tim Hortons on me. Jimmy, I really appreciate that, but I've banned Tim Hortons. I banned them because they support the murders in the Middle East. So I kind of I banned them. I haven't had a coffee from Tim Hortons in almost 2 years. Okay, since it started. Since I learned about the fact that they're on the BDS list. Okay, so I got rid of Tim Hortons a long time ago, my friend, and many other companies. How's the high protein going? Good, man. I'm sticking to it as much as possible. I'm really getting that protein in. Abbas Murtada, Jazakallah khair, thank you very much. Thoughts on Shiism historically and theologically? That's from Abbas. Look, I'm not an expert in Shiism, okay? I don't really like to talk about different sects. Okay, I don't believe there is any sects. Okay. Now, Imam Ali, he followed Abu Bakr and Omar. He followed them, right? So if you're a Shia means you're a supporter of Ali. I'm a supporter of Ali. I support him, of course. I support all of them. But he followed Abu Bakr and Omar. He actually named his children Abu Bakr and Omar. He named his children. Now, how could you think he was against them in any way, shape, or form? I think it's a ridiculous notion. I think it's absurd. I think it's just I'm just giving my honest opinion. I don't want to offend anybody there. I just find it to be absurd that people want to deviate from what Imam Ali did, but then they say they supported him. He should have been this. He didn't. He followed the Khalifa. He gave the bay'ah. He followed the Khalifa. He named his children after the Khalifa. How can you go against him? It just doesn't make any sense. If you're a Shiite Ali, you're going to follow Imam Ali. You're going to do as he says. You're going to do as he did. Some people argue, he was intimidated. That's nonsense. That's pure nonsense. Impossible. If you say that, you're not familiar with his biography. Imam Ali was the most fearsome warrior. He was one of the most successful warriors ever. He was fearless. Fearless. What did he have to lose? It's just absurdity. Right? I find the arguments to be highly unconvincing. Highly unconvincing. Now, again, I don't want to offend anybody. I just find them highly unconvincing. That we shouldn't follow this. No, he followed them. He voluntarily followed them. He gave the bay'ah. And there's no possible way he would go against the Prophet's command. If he thought the Prophet commanded such and such, he would never go against it. Impossible. You're not familiar with his biography. I'm sorry to tell you, you are unfamiliar. It just makes no sense to me. Sam Coach, I'm going to Hajj soon and was wondering if there's any du'as you would like me to make for you. Oh, that's from Old Man Winter. I wish you would ask me that privately, but I want you to think carefully and do as you think fit. Thank you. Jazakallahu khair. Please keep me in your dua. Quantum mechanics shows irreducible probabilistic outcomes and hidden variable theories fall without violating locality or data, making randomness ontologically real and undermining sufficient reason. Okay, I'm going to read that again because that was a mouthful. He said something very interesting. He said many interesting things. This is from Adam Rogers. Adam Rogers is saying quantum mechanics shows irreducible probabilistic outcomes. So he's saying, look, when we make predictions in quantum physics, they're probabilistic. Meaning, coach, the world is not determined. And this, when we study the world at the quantum level, it's now random. There's random spooky stuff going on here. Okay, so he's saying it's irreproducible, it's probabilistic. And hidden variable theories fail without violating locality or data. Now, I'm not going to get into locality, but this is very interesting. Making randomness ontologically real, meaning it's a real thing out there in the world. It's not something that's a byproduct of the imagination. Okay. Now I'm going to play a clip for our friend, and he's going to listen carefully. I'm going to play a clip for our friend, and hopefully he's going to listen clearly to my retort. Because I don't know if you know this, friends, but this is a highly, highly debated topic in science. Okay, highly debated. It's highly, highly debated. I knew that this would come to the channel, so I reserved a little clip. Listen carefully to this clip. You know what? I'm going to put it on the screen. Why not? Let's get crazy. Coach has button pushing skills now, so let me get my button pushing skills on. It's not going to take long at all. It's going to be faster than ever. Okay, remember what our friend said. He said it's ontologically, it's part of our reality. Okay, here we go. Listen carefully.
Quantum mechanics is weird.
It's very weird.
And probably that's where the true random is.
I don't know whether random. Quantum mechanics is weirder than you can imagine, and I've written about it.
Yeah.
But we should realize that there's something fundamental. The quantum mechanics is a deterministic theory.
Quantum mechanics is a deterministic theory. Let's listen on.
It's completely deterministic. Yes, the wave function is governed by what we call a second-order differential equation, which means if you give the initial conditions, its behavior for the entire future is completely determined. So the quantum mechanics itself is a deterministic theory. Measurements are probabilistic.
It's the measurement that's probabilistic. I'm going to play it again.
So the wave function gives you the probability of making a measurement. So the measurements are probabilistic, but the underlying world is deterministic.
The measurement is probabilistic. The underlying world is deterministic. I'm going to play it one more time.
Weird.
It's very weird.
And probably that's where the true random is.
I don't know whether random. Quantum mechanics is weirder than you can imagine, and I've written about it.
Yeah.
But we should realize that there's something fundamental. The quantum mechanics is a deterministic theory. It's completely deterministic. Yes, the wave function is governed by what we call a second-order differential equation, which means if you give the initial conditions, its behavior for the entire future is completely determined. So the quantum mechanics itself is a deterministic theory. Measurements are probabilistic.
It's the measurement that's probabilistic. Okay, now this is Lawrence Krauss, one of the most popular, scientific personalities. He's very credible. He's a very well-trained scientist, of course. He's a very outspoken guy as well. I have more comments to say. Okay, I'm not going to leave it there. I know there's a lot more to say. But I would tell you, look, you're saying randomness is ontologically real. It's something that corresponds to reality. Randomness is out there. If it's true that something is random, let's define what randomness is. Because I don't think Lawrence Krauss went far enough. Random, if something is random, that means it has no cause. Mr. Old Man Winter. Okay, that's how you call yourself. I'm going to call you Old Man Winter. Mr. Old Man Winter. If something is random, that means it has no cause. Because if it has a cause, it ain't random. Now, something can have a cause, and I don't know what the cause is. Doesn't make it random. For something to literally be random, as you say, if something is ontologically real, randomness is ontologically real. For randomness to be ontologically real, you'd have to claim poof magic. Mr. Old Man Winter, you'd have to say that an event happened with no explanation. Because if it has an explanation, it is not random. It's caused. If it doesn't have an explanation, then it can be random. If you're saying that quantum theory is random, truly ontologically random, it's real out there, it corresponds to something, then you're completely undermining the axioms of science. You're completely undermining the PSR, principle of sufficient reason. Everything has a cause. We would have to find something that's necessarily true. It would have to be Aristotle's unmoved mover, something that's necessarily so. by its nature, by its own itself, how do you say it? It would have to be something eternal. But if something is random, comes into being in a random way, you're basically saying poof, magic. You're making an appeal to magic. Unknowingly, you're making an appeal to magic. It's impossible for you to accept science and say poof, magic. It's unscientific. To say something is random is unscientific because you're ultimately saying poof, magic. Imagine I had a hat. Okay, I'm holding a hat. And I reached into the hat and I pulled out a rabbit. And you'd be like, whoa, you pulled out a rabbit. That's pretty cool. How'd you do it? I'm like, no, man, I just reached in and there was no rabbit before. And it's not a trick. It's not an illusion. I literally pulled a rabbit out of non-existence. You'd be like, wow, that's really random. I'm like, yeah, okay, let me go back in the hat. And then I pull out, I pull out a tiger. Then I go back in, I pull out, apple pie. And you'd be like, oh, wow, this is really random. Yeah, poof, magic. It's a magic hat and I'm going in and out, poof. Magic, poof, magic. There's no explanation. We try to explain it. We cut the hat up. We look around. There's no process to this. Is that what you're trying to tell me? That poof magic? The quantum world is poof magic? No. If I pull a rabbit out of a hat, there's an explanation. There's some way. Maybe the rabbit was in my sleeve. Maybe the hat was loaded with a rabbit. Whatever. There's 1,001 ways that these magicians do tricks, right? But there's an explanation. Me and you know there's an explanation. Mr. Old Man Winter, are you saying that there are events out there in the world that are random? Because if you are, that means you're saying they have no cause or explanation. Lawrence Krauss is telling you that's not possible. It has to be that the measurement is probabilistic. We have a wave function. We assume that particles spinning both clockwise and counterclockwise. We think about it that way. And then once we observe it, we decide what it actually was. Okay. And I'm not getting into Schrodinger's cat because when Schrodinger designed the Schrodinger's cat thought experiment, he was making fun of he was making fun of the superposition idea. No, you cannot have a particle both spinning clockwise and counterclockwise. That is not possible. Let me give you, Old Man Winter, let me give you another thought experiment, okay? Imagine you lived in a world where there are coins, and the coins had heads and tails on them, like we have in our world, okay? But we live in a world where nobody ever flipped a coin. Nobody ever flipped a coin ever in the history of coins. We live in the modern world. We have cars, we have computers, we have houses, we have boats, we have gym, we have everything you've ever seen in this world, except nobody ever took a coin and flipped it in here. It just, for whatever reason, nobody ever did it in history. Ever. Now, you've seen coins on the table. You've seen them heads up. You've seen them tails up. You've seen them both ways. You've even seen a coin on its side. And I tell you, Old Man Winter, you know what? I just went in that room over there. Yeah? What'd you see? I saw a guy do something to a coin I'd never seen before. And you're like, what do you mean? What do you explain? It wasn't heads. It wasn't tails. It wasn't on its side. It was heads and tails at the same time and on its side all at once. You'd be like, that's impossible. I've never seen a coin both on its head, on its tails, and on its side at once. That's impossible. Well, then when I show you a guy flipping the coin, you're going to be like, you're right. It's kind of heads. It's kind of tails. It's kind of this state of flux. But it doesn't contradict my previous experience with coins. Okay? So what I'm trying to tell you, there's an apparent contradiction. There's an inaccuracy in our languages. That's what's happening. Now, scientists, to Sean Carroll's own admission, says they don't like to think about these things. They don't like to philosophize about these things. They want to leave that to the philosophy department. They don't really think about it any further than that. What's happening in the quantum wave? They'll say, oh, just shut up and calculate. That's an old saying from Richard Feynman. Just shut up and calculate. Who cares? Just get the results. If the system works, it's right. It's correct. We like it. We accept it. It has to be pragmatic. It doesn't have to be true at the highest level, how philosophers consider things to be true. Okay, so I want you, Old Man Winter, to think about what you're saying. If random events do exist, you've just completely undermined the axioms of science. Please look up the axioms of science. One of them is the PSR. Everything has to have sufficient reason. There's the principle of sufficient reason. It all has to be explainable. We don't appeal to magic ever. His name is Adam Rogers. No, it was Winter Rogers, wasn't it? Oh, no, it's like Old Man Rogers, right? No, I think I read it right. Hold on a second here. Oh, it was Old Man Winter. Sorry, I missed was that the wrong? Oh, Adam Rogers. You're right. I'm sorry. I looked at a super chat. You're right, guys. My apologies. My apologies. I was directing to Adam Winter. Was a super chat. No, this was Adam Rogers. Please forgive me. My fault. Thank you, Ikrab. Oh my goodness, more Shia talk. Okay, Hassan Haytham wants me to invite the Shias now. Guys, listen, I don't go into sectarian talk. I'll have like a friendly discussion, but I don't want to go into people's like sectarian thinking. I don't appreciate and I don't like sectarianism. I don't want to talk about it. You want to believe in that? That's your business. I don't want to encourage it. I don't want anything to do with it. I don't want to hash out beef from 1,400 years ago that may or may not have happened. Okay. I don't want to go in there and try to, with a fine-tooth comb, and try to figure out something that happened back in the day. I don't think it's constructive. I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's any good. I think it's all political, and human beings, for some reason, they love to quibble about these things. I prefer to focus on unity, the positive, the good. And I'm sorry to say, but I just find it to be sad that people love to talk about these things. It's almost like they love to dramatize. You know, they love the drama. It's just so juicy. It's just so juicy, and they want to talk about it. I'm not into that. Okay, now I think, look, I won't lie to you. I've studied it. I've looked at it. I think that if you're an educated person and you want to be educated in Islam, it's good to know. But to talk about it and go talk to this guy, debate that guy, I don't think it's constructive. I think dialogue is okay, but in the most positive sense to hopefully bring us closer together. But this is like, you're trying to settle a beef between people that you don't know if it was like, you're getting reports from people who have a tremendous bias. It just doesn't make logical sense. Here's the thing. Look, when we read history, we have to put on our thinking caps. We got to say to ourselves, look, we have to study who the historian is. Who's this person? What are his motives? Look, that's how you do history, by the way. Okay. The first thing you got to do in history is try to get in the person's who's making the report's head. You have to put yourself in their situation. What motive, what biases do they have? Every historian that ever wrote anything down on paper had a bias. It's normal. It's natural. None of us can get away from it. Okay, guys? I have as much of a bias as anybody else. What is this person's bias? Now they have a bias. They wanted to benefit from certain things or a certain type of thinking. But to me, I feel that if you think about it, look at it carefully in every direction, you could find something that makes sense or doesn't make sense. And to me, it doesn't make any sense that one of the greatest warrior of his generation, like the greatest warrior in that time, would name his children literally after the two first Khalifas and say that he was objecting to the Khalifas. That makes no logical sense. No logical sense whatsoever. Some people try to say, oh, it was a common name. No. You don't choose those two particular names unless you're trying to honor. You're trying to honor them. You're trying to show the world, hey, don't say about me that I wasn't on the same page as everybody else. He was on the same page as everybody else. And here's what I find is completely irrefutable. He became Khalifa. Imam Ali became Khalifa. He became Khalifa. So when he was Khalifa, why didn't he design any rules that would have changed everything? From now on, it's this and this person who has to be Khalifa. Forever and ever. And this is the law. This is the way it is. He did no such thing. He did no such thing. He allowed for diplomacy. He allowed for voting. He allowed for democracy. He allowed for a type of democracy, shura. He allowed for consultation, checks and balances. Are we doing the right thing? Are we in the right way? Criticize us. Let us know if we do anything wrong. If we do anything wrong, don't follow us. Don't obey us. This was the attitude of the Khalifa. It makes no logical sense to me. Okay, so look, you can argue with me all day long. I just don't think it makes any logical sense. You could bring me all sorts of arguments. I just find it incredibly unlikely that a man would name his children after somebody he doesn't want to follow. That would be insane. That would be just unthinkable. Coach, how do you feel about AI? How should the government deal with the rising unemployment due to AI? That's from Ben and Nguyen. Well, rising unemployment in the long run might be, I hate to say it, okay, but I don't want to sound insensitive. I hate to see people lose their jobs, but it could be a good thing. Here's why. Just before you hate on me, just give me a second. Think about like machines that cultivate wheat. We used to do it by hand. It used to be more expensive. Now we have machines cultivating wheat. So the people who used to work the farms, we need less of them. What happened to those people? Well, for a short period of time, they were unemployed. They found other forms of employment. And the wheat got cheaper. Why? You get more supply to meet the demand. So I think things will get cheaper. Humanity will get more prosperous as we get more efficient. But the short-term pain is that some people are going to lose their job. They're going to have to find other domains to go into. And that's the not fun part. Okay, people lose their jobs. I hate to see that. But in the long run, those people hopefully and their successors will have more benefit. Okay, because maybe in the future, plane tickets are going to be $20. Why? AI is doing almost everything. You don't need so much staff. Well, those staff that got laid off, what did they do? Well, they found other jobs in other markets that emerged because of AI. So because people are traveling more often, maybe people, are using another service or what kind, and those people are going to go into that new market that's been developed. So what I'm trying to tell you is this has happened in history many times. A new technology comes about. Think about ATMs. When ATMs came, ATM machines, people were freaking out. They're like, oh, no, you don't need the bank teller no more. They're all going to lose their jobs. Everybody's freaking out. Could you imagine a world without ATMs? You have to go wait in line, get in line, wait 30 minutes, 40 minutes to do a deposit or withdrawal. People lose their minds. But there's more banking than ever. There's more banking than ever. More people go to the bank than ever. The population has grown. So bankers are still working. Bankers are still busy. And now because of the ATMs, we can actually get our banking done much faster. If we didn't invent the ATM machine, the banking lines would be crazy. The fees would be crazy because you have to pay all those employees. So in the long term, efficiency usually benefits the majority of people. How do I feel about AI? I think it's out of the bag and it's probably going to be the world's greatest threat. It won't be long. It won't be long before AI is the world's greatest threat. Oh my goodness gracious. Hassan, you got to kill it, man, especially on this forum. This is not like a all Muslim forum. Hassan, please behave yourself, man. You're asking me, I understand I've oversimplified history. I'm telling you, I don't want to get into it. I don't want to go and nitpick and look at, here's the thing. One, the sources are not 100%. There's heavy biases, heavy biases, okay? And two, you're trying to rehash things where you're not even there. You're not present to get the information. Imagine when two people dispute. Sometimes you hear them live discussing. You're in a court case. Imagine a modern day court case. And people are still like, I could see both sides. It's so tricky. There's so much to know. Imagine that happened 2,000 years ago and you're hearing the case, but you're hearing fragments of the case. Fragments. You think you can delegate something that's honest and true and just? Okay. Now, there's a lot to this story. I don't want to get into it. I mean, I could talk to you. I could talk your ear off about what you brought up. I could talk your ear off it. Okay. There was emotions. There was all of us, like, there was, I would say, emotional decisions being made quickly because of a certain death that happened. So people were emotional. They were angry. They were having a human response. Did they do things correctly? Maybe not, but they were having a human response and it was reconciled, etc. There's so much to know about the story. But the fact that you want to keep harping on it, the fact that you're going to put $5 on it, the fact, like, you got to let this die out. This is not the channel. Yes, let the subject matter experts. You asked me my opinion. I gave you my opinion. I don't want to go into detail, especially not on this channel. And secondly, I really don't think this should be a hot topic of conversation. This is very divisive. I don't agree. I understand now when you say we observe everything through consciousness and you can't see behind the curtain. So we don't know for sure consciousness is a result of the brain. We observe. But how are you sure that it's not? That's from 2357. He's asking a very deep question. Okay, I pretty much understand what he's trying to say. And it's a really hard thing to explain because I'd have to talk for another 30, 40 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to give you a really in a nutshell. Okay. Mr. 2357, this is the thought experiment I give people. Imagine me and you are in a dream. Just grant me that premise. We're in a dream. And you're like, Coach, I had a thought. Let's go eat for breakfast. Let's go in this restaurant. Me and you are in the dream world now. We go in the restaurant, we eat, and you're like, oh, I think I want eggs and pancakes. So you order eggs and pancakes, and you're eating, and you're like, I have thoughts in my head. I order it, and then the thought is on the table. And I'm like, that's pretty cool, man. You have thoughts in your head. You tell the guy what you're thinking, and the guy knows what you're thinking. He brings it to you on the table. So your thoughts now are put on paper by the waitress and then communicated to the chef, and the chef brings you what you were thinking in your head. So you had a thought in your head. Now it's out here in the real world, in the dream world. And then me and you go out, and we're observing a brain surgery. We're invited to go observe a brain surgery. This is a wild dream. We're eating eggs and pancakes, and now we're in a operation room. And the surgeon opens the skull, looks in the brain, and he's like, see this brain? Yeah, it's a physical brain. And he throws it on the wall. And you're like, wow, he threw a physical brain on the wall. And I tap you on the shoulder. I'm like, look, I know you think it's a physical brain. And every time he tinkered with the brain, it affected what the person was experimenting. But I'm telling you, no, that brain is just an idea in a dream somewhere. Look, you see when that brain he threw on the wall? Yeah, it bounced off the wall, and you think two physical things hit each other, but it's not. It's just two ideas interacting with one another. That's all it is. There is no evidence of physicality. It's just ideas. You're like, it doesn't make any sense, man. Look at this rock. You pick up a rock and you break a window. You're like, see, one rock breaking a window. I'm like, dude, that's just one idea interacting with another. There's no rock. It's just an idea of a rock interacting with a window. It's the equivalent. Okay, now I'm giving you in a nutshell. You'd have to research idealism. And idealism, they can give you the breakdown one by one. But ultimately speaking, when we reduce things, it always leads to mind. That's it. It never leads to physical brain. I know it sounds weird. I know. Believe me. Trust me. I was very resistant to the idea when I first came across it. Extremely resistant. Almost violently resistant. But I came to understand they're correct. Idealism in philosophy, guys, I know a lot of you are going to be like, oh, this guy's nuts. It's considered irrefutable. Okay? It's not me saying it. That's just the way it is. Okay? It's not me saying it. Ask any expert in logic. Any expert. He's going to tell you, look, it's irrefutable. Even Schopenhauer, when he came, I'm not getting into Schopenhauer, okay, but he was referring to solipsism, not necessarily idealism. I don't want to confuse the two. It's too. I don't want to go too far in solipsism, okay? Solipsism is basically, it's only you that exists. Everything is in your mind, but you're only one person. The whole universe is just you. It's just one mind. Okay, I don't want to get into solipsism. All I'm telling you is that it's irrefutable. Many great mystics talked about this. They said, look, dualism, the physical world, it's really the seen and unseen. It's not physical. There's the world we see with our senses, and there's the world inside the mind. They're only separated in category, not in kind. They're separated in category, but not in kind. Wow. Mike Kaufman asks, how do you build muscle while fight training? Mike Kaufman is not worried about philosophy, logic, and history. He's worried about being jacked. Mike is asking, how do you build muscle while fight training? Is it really just lifting weights, calories / protein, sleep, ? It also feels like the cardio from boxing and BJJ is counterproductive to gaining muscle. That's from Mike. Mike, you're not crazy. That makes sense. Okay. Look, if you look at MMA fighters, a lot of them are jacked. Now, they would be more jacked if they did less cardio. I think they would be more jacked. Okay, so how do we counteract that? Look, Mike, you got to juggle two ideas. You have work that's catabolic, which is bad. We don't want catabolic. And you have work that's anabolic. Anabolic is like puts on muscle. Catabolic, it chews up muscle. When you're doing boxing for too long, when you're doing grappling for too long, you're in a catabolic state. You'll lose muscle over time. We have to counteract it. How do we counteract it? Well, we do short bursts of exercise like air bikes, sprints, weightlifting, something more intense than jiu-jitsu, more intense than boxing in terms of calorie per second to counteract the endurance work. Okay, so I like everything. I like swinging in kettlebell. I like sprints on the air bike. I like deadlifting. I like it all, man. I think it's all great. I like isometric holds. It's all good stuff. So make sure you keep your conditioning, because your conditioning will help you maintain muscle. That's no doubt. Keep your workouts brief. Don't train in the gym for 2-3 hours if you're worried about losing muscle. Okay, so sometimes I'll be in the gym for 2.5 hours. I spend a lot of energy. I realize that if I do that for too long, I do lose muscle. So I don't want to do that forever. I'll do that once in a while to break through a plateau, to get to the next level of technique. But I'm not going to do that all the time. Okay, so there's a balance. You got to ask yourself, if I'm doing short, intense exercises, that's anabolic. If I'm doing too long skill work, it can be catabolic. Yes, you're totally correct. Now, I find that's massive. If you really want to maintain your muscle, make sure your protein intake is really high. Okay, so I don't know how much you weigh, but I would tell you at 170 pounds, I feel like my protein has to be at 100 grams a day for me to keep the muscle on. If I go below that, I'm not as muscular. Okay. Now, naturally, I'm not a very muscular guy, so I have to. I know that once I don't take care of my diet, I'm lazy on the protein, I lose muscle right away. Okay, so I'm not a naturally muscular guy. I know some guys out there, they don't take care of their diet and they're super muscular. They're genetic, they're blessed. I've seen guys like that. They don't know the first thing about diet, but they're really muscular. They're huge. They're thick. I lift weights 3 times more than them. I'm not as muscular as them. Why? Their genetic potential is greater. If the guy actually took care of his diet and lifted weights, he'd be even more muscular. Okay, so 1 is genetics, 2 is diet, and intensity of your trainings. Okay, so if you want to do something that's anabolic, make sure it's very intense. Adam Rogers asking, how do you explain fat fighters, Roy Nelson, DC, having better cardio than some very lean fighters? Would they perform even better at lower weight classes? That's from Adam Rogers. Maybe not, maybe not. Because look, I'll tell you something. I know Roy Nelson had a belly, okay? I think if I was his trainer, I'd want him to trim down. I do think it's dead weight. Okay, now, let's say you have George St. Pierre, okay? And I put on a 25-pound vest on him. Would he still win his fights? Yes. Would it be a little harder? Yes. That's what it is. It's just dead weight. Fat is dead weight. Now, it could constrict some of your cardiovascular ability. Sure, it can. It can restrict you. Sure. But you're also carrying around a lot of dead weight. Fat doesn't contract, right? So it doesn't help. Unless you're on top of the guy using your weight, then the guy has to carry that extra weight. If I'm on top of a guy, now it's a weapon. Barring that, it's not really anything useful. Okay, so I would tell you that even if you put a vest on George St. Pierre, he's that good of a fighter, he'll still win. It's not optimal. It's really not optimal. Now, at the heavyweight division, there's a lot of guys who are not that well trained because there's not a lot of heavyweights. Think about it. Think about everybody who's 265 and up. If they were elite athletes, why aren't they playing NFL? Why aren't they playing basketball? Why aren't they in the sports where they pay tons of money? Why aren't they doing WWE if they're that great of an athlete? Well, MMA might be getting the lesser athletes, the guys who couldn't make it in the NFL, the guys who couldn't make it in the NHL, the guys who couldn't make it as NBA players. They're like, hey, what else can I do? What other sport can I do? Well, MMA. Oh, okay. So you're not getting the elite of the elite. Because I'll tell you something. If I weigh 265, let's say I weighed 285 and I was chiseled, I was jacked, and I was super strong, I was the best athlete, wouldn't I want to go play in the NFL and make like $5, $10, $20 million a year, or fight in the UFC? Like, it doesn't make any sense. You go play football. So that's why you could see guys who are not in the best shape, this and that, and they're still winning. Faraj asks, did GSP leave because he was scared of the competition? That's from Faraj. No, of course not. When would you want him to leave? Like, he cleaned out the division. He won. When would you want him to leave? Because there's always another guy to beat. There's always another guy to beat. So no. He had one of the greatest runs in history, and who's been champion as long as him? It's very few other people that even come close. So I think he was just tired of the lifestyle. Hey, Coach, when will you try a psychedelic? Do you think you might be tempted in your later years? That's from Charles. Charles, no, I don't think so. In my mind, I'm psychedelic. I don't know why you guys take the pills. Me, I don't need the pills. I just go to my mind. I go a place. When I go to bed, my head hits the pillow. I go in a place in my mind, my friend. I think it's more powerful than the mushroom, more powerful than your psychedelics. I've heard the description of psychedelic trips. It's actually quite similar to what you get in the mystics traditions. Okay. I don't think you need the whatever you called it, psychedelics. I don't think it's needed. I think the human brain is capable of it if you understand what the human brain is capable of. Guys, please be careful with your grammar. Sometimes I read your questions and I just don't understand what you're trying to say. I think he did. He came back and took an easy fight, bro. Bisping, that's from Mirage. Oh, Mirage, you're up to you're allowed to your opinion. The UFC called us to ask us if we'd fight Bisping. Okay, so they were in need of somebody to fight Bisping. It was the right opportunity. He had been away for a while. He wanted to come back in. But listen, Faraj, I do welcome you to come TriStar. Please do. And I'm going to call George. And you're going to get in the gym. And you're going to be like, hey, George, I think you were scared. Tell him that. Let's see what happens. Maybe I'll lock you two in the cage. Who knows? 10 million in NFL plus CTE. That's from Rainbow. I agree with you. Look, there's a lot of injuries in NFL, whatnot, but would you do it? If you had a $10 million contract, would you sign it? I would. I would sign it. I would sign it. I'll play ball. Old Man Winter. Hey, Coach, can't let everyone know that the Muslim Pro app currently has an offer to complete Hajj on behalf of someone unable to, whether sick or passed away, for 1,500 USD, 250 spots only with certificate. Hey, Coach, can let everyone know that the Muslim Pro app currently has an offer to complete Hajj on behalf of someone unable, whether sick or passed away, for 1,500 USD, 250 spots only with certificate. That's from Old One Winter, guys. Check it out. Check out his post. All right, guys, we're 1 hour and 50 minutes in. Please, let's start. I'm going to call this a night soon. So let's give me a fun one to end on. Coach, I started BJJ a week ago. And there's a competition in 5 weeks. Do you think I can compete? That's from Mustafa. No, don't compete. You're just going to get injured. You don't have enough skills to demonstrate. Why would you go in there and try to demonstrate your skills? No. Train for 5 months before you do competition, okay? 5 months. Not 5 weeks. 5 months. The guy started at jiu-jitsu last week. 5 months, my friend. 5 months. Or else you're just going to be scratching and clawing, and it's going to be a disaster. Set it up. Faraj, come on in. Yalla, come on down. I'm waiting for you. Come in, Faraj. Thank you for the $20. You're a gentleman and scholar. Yalla, you know what, Faraj? You come into the gym, I'll put the gloves on with you. Okay? You get past me, I'll call the big final boss, George St. Pierre. Let's get creative. 100 arm. Oh, goodness gracious. Shiz, my man. Let's get creative. 100 armed men against one gorilla. Who you got? Armed how? What do you mean armed? Let's get creative. 100 armed men. I think you mean unarmed men. Because you'd have to tell me what arms they're bearing, Mr. Shiz. 100 unarmed men against one gorilla. Who you got? Fight IQ, baby. There's always a way, though. Coach, question mark. No, I think the gorilla kills 100 unarmed men. Kills, destroys, annihilates. Think about it. You ever see a gorilla move left and right? How fast they move? Like the second he starts like, the guys are going to scatter. Like imagine you had them like in a giant cage. Like they can't run away. He would be grabbing one, throwing them against it. It would just be vicious. He would be ripping out genitalia, biting fingers, like clawing. Like anybody who went and punched it would break their hand, would probably hurt to injure themselves. Like I just don't see people hanging on to a gorilla. Like he's gonna grab your forearm and twist your wrist. Like he's just gonna. Imagine fighting 100 7-year-olds. That's what it is to a gorilla. Wait, a 7-year-old punches you. You think you're going to fall on the ground, Chiz? Do you think you're going to fall on the ground and be like, oh, stop it? No, you're going to be like, brrr. They're 7-year-olds, man. They're little. They're tiny. Imagine what a gorilla would do to a human being. Just crazy. Adam Rogers, Coach, the wave function evolves deterministically, but measurement outcomes and inherently probabilistic collapse isn't governed by any laws, so quantum mechanics is not fully deterministic. Adam, I beg to differ. Look into Sean Carroll. Sean Carroll, by the way, you're asserting something that's not true, okay? Because there is super determinism. Look up super determinism. It's a minority view, but some physicists believe, no, the entire system is determined. There's opposing views. That means your views are not conclusive. They're what the majority believe. So I'll tell you that. Look, you have the bandwagon. Yes, the majority of scientists believe that, but they're not philosophers. They don't philosophize. They don't ask. They don't ask the questions. Does it violate the principle of non-contradiction, the law of non-contradiction? If it does, all of science is moot. Do you understand what you're trying to say, Mr. Rogers? You're telling me that all of science is fiction. That poof, magic. You didn't address my point. I'm going to reread your comment just to be sure. Okay. Coach, the wave function evolves deterministically. Okay, we agree with that, yes. But measurement outcomes inherently probabilistic. Yes, because you're not... Listen, if God was measuring the wave function, would it be probabilistic? The answer is no, it wouldn't be. Therefore, it's a byproduct of your ignorance. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that literally. Because human beings have an ignorance, to us it's probabilistic. That I totally agree with you. That's what Lawrence Krauss was saying. The measurements are probabilistic. The outcomes are deterministic. It's all determined. We just can't tell. We're obfuscated. I talked about this on Joe Rogan's show like 5-7 years ago. We're having the same discussion again. Look at Sean Carroll's Many Worlds. He says, look, I'm not going to get into his discussion. He gave a great Google talk about it. I've talked about it many times. I got to grandfather this question, but I'll tell you, he also admits that it can't be that something is uncaused, random. It can't be, because that would mean something has no explanation. If something has no explanation, that's poof magic. You got to think about it, Adam. What you're trying to tell me is, Coach, poof magic. Do you really want to be, is that really the statement you're trying to make? Do you understand that that's the statement you be necessarily making? Guys, please don't spam. While the wave function evolves deterministically via the Schrodinger equation, measurements collapse it into probabilistic outcomes. And this collapse, the Born rule, is not governed by any determinist. Adam, it's going to be tough to do it this way. It's going to be really, really tough. Like, really, really tough. We'd have to have a more, like, I would love to have a more direct conversation. It's going to be tough. Coach, quantum mechanics does say a big part of the world is poof magic. That's from Just a Channel. I don't agree. I totally disagree. Totally disagree. Don't make me pull out Sean Carroll now. Don't make me pull out all his quotes and his videos and him talking about how physicists fail as philosophers, because he's also a physicist and a philosopher. He's basically saying they fail as philosophers. That's really all this is, just failure to philosophize. What are your thoughts about the Jewish Kabbalah? That's from Adam Rogers. Adam, you're all over the place today. I'm not really familiar with exactly what that means. I'm not really. I'll have to look it up. But I know Kabbalah is usually the mystic element of Judaism. But I don't know exactly what you mean by your question. Apologies. All right, guys. This ended on a fun one. Now it's time to go to bed shortly. 12:30 a.m. Oof. Guys, I need something light and funny. Coach, who wins in a chess match between a mind reader? Uh-oh. It skipped. Guys, no more super chats, please. No more. I'm ending it. Okay, hold on. Coach, who wins in a chess match between a mind reader and someone who can see the future? That's from Dupes. That would be... That would be even, right? They would be even, because I could see your future thoughts and you could see in the future, so it would be even. Do you have a set schedule for these calls? ? If you do, I would like to join them all. If there's a place to look, please let me know. That's from Mike. Mike, I usually do them Wednesday and Wednesday night. Okay, so Wednesday during the day, I've done a few, or Wednesday night. Sometimes I throw a curveball and I do one on Monday night. So look out for Wednesday nights. I usually do these talks on Wednesday night. Guys, I want to thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget to use Get 50 off. Get 55 off promo code. Use promo code Get 55 off. It's on the bottom of your screen. It's in the description of the video. It's on the website. You can't miss it, but still guys miss it all the time. It's crazy. CTE is a real thing, guys. Put the promo code so you can get 55% off. I'm starting to think, a lot of you guys, I get it. Some of you guys don't put the promo code in. They want to be generous. I get it. Thank you. But the guys who write me emails complaining, they write my staff email. Oh, he didn't do it. He didn't put in the promo code. My boy Noor, he's really upset with you guys. He just can't take it anymore. He's telling me no more. No more special, no more. Guys, every time I see the email, I'm like, give it to him. No more, guys. Noor is losing his mind. He's like, tell the guys, Get 55 off. Use it. I just released Triangle Escapes. Triangle and Omoplata Escapes. The video came out amazing. You guys are going to love it. Please enjoy. Thank you all for tuning in and see you all in the next episode. Thank you.